Hi, welcome to Downshift. My name is Matt. And this has been 50 years in the making. This is the new Nissan Z. It's not our first go in this car, but it's our first opportunity to have spent a full week with it. And it's our first experience with the Jatco/Mercedes 9-speed automatic. So we're going to explore what this thing is like to live with and talk a little bit more about the current landscape. As it's getting colder here in Wisconsin, it's nice to think back to that March desert sun that we had outside Las Vegas where we had our first experience here with this Z. But now we're here on Midwest roads, the temperature's going down, and we're still on performance tires. So let's see what it's like to live with the new Nissan Z. But first, some housekeeping. If you missed our first video back in the spring, we'll recap a bit of what's going on here. We've got an evolution of the legacy 370Z chassis, but it's been strengthened, rigiditized, and they've done a lot to add in some performance from the ground up. Under the hood is the 3-liter twin-turbocharged V6 VR30 open-deck engine tuned to produce 400 horsepower and 350 pound-feet. And it's a great engine. The automatic that we have here is noticeably louder than the manual car we had earlier, which adds some nice theater and drama to the car. And the power feels strong. The torque peaks as low as 1600 RPM, and it revs all the way up. From there, the power goes through the same 9-speed automatic that you'd find in the Frontier, as it makes its way to a proper mechanical LSD in the rear tires. The car is suspended on static rate dual wishbone front suspension and a multi-link rear setup. The suspension setup that you get here is actually a bit more robust than you would get on the Supra. The Supra uses a strut front where this has a dual wishbone setup. However, the Supra makes up for that with the adaptive damping, so the car firms up in sport mode, which would help with the noticeable weight transfer that you get on hard braking and intense cornering. The ride here in this Z is good, objectively, but the Supra does feel a little bit more home at the limit. And then there's this 9-speed gearbox, and I'm not gonna lie to you, it's not very good. It takes a day and a half to shift up, and yeah, about the same thing on the way down. But you bought an automatic Z, so I already don't really feel like you have a basis to complain. The dynamics of the car are actually really solid. The Supra feels a bit sharper out of the box, but the Supra is also a bit more expensive out of the box. Plus, there's the whole Supra thing. Honestly, behind the wheel, I can't really find much of anything aside from the slow 9-speed to complain about. The power is good, the chassis and suspension are good enough to make it feel athletic, and it walks the line of dailyable really, really well without the need for things like adaptive suspension. Sure, it could use a little bit more sound, but let's not pretend that there won't be modifications made swiftly by whoever buys this car. Honestly, I really like the car behind the wheel. It's a nice step forward from the 370, it looks great, especially in yellow, and it's the right price with the right kit to make it a great platform for you to begin to make it your own. So let's step outside. And I guess that's kind of where we are right now. We're kind of at the pinnacle of internal combustion. Without going hybrid, PHEV, EV, all of the sports cars that have come out over the last year, maybe even 2 years, have been just kind of like mild evolutions or like a small step forward from what they were in the previous generation. So I guess what I'm saying is I'm grateful to have this car here. With the development cost and the R&D that manufacturers incur by bringing new sports cars, Nissan didn't have to bring this car to us. And while it's not perfect, I think it's a great little sports car, it's affordable, and they deserve a lot of credit for that. But in terms of how it looks, I think they completely nailed the modern vintage persona. I feel like they doubled and tripled down on the 240-ness and the heritage aspect because they saw how Toyota was crucified for what they did to the Supra. So much of the car is 240. From the grille, to the headlight, to the hood shape, the entire profile of the car retains the 240's silhouette. There are some other influences here though as well. The door handles are seemingly pulled straight from a 370, and the taillights are a modern reimagining of Paulo's favorite, the 300ZX. And finally, there are modern things, like the wheel design with the 19-inch forged raised wheels to keep the unsprung weight low. And those wheels, even in late October, are wrapped in the Bridgestone S007s. I still feel like this car deserves a better tire. But as far as the exterior styling goes, I don't have a single complaint about how this Z looks. If you are fortunate enough to be one of the 240 people to get the proto spec with the highlighter yellow paint color and the bronze wheels, you got a really cool car. And if you weren't lucky enough to be one of those 240 people, you can still get that highlighter yellow color. And a can of Plasti Dip is only gonna run you like 50 bucks tops. Let's hop inside. And then the interior here is where I really wanted to see an improvement, and there has been a significant overhaul here. I'm not going to say everything is trimmed in the most expensive materials out there, but for a $40,000 sports coupe, it's pretty impressive for what you get. First off, the automatic cars get the same paddle shifters as the GTR. The steering wheel itself is derived from the original Fairlady. The design feels more modern with your big digital cluster and center screen. You've got your classic 3 pods on the dash for boost pressure, spool speed, and battery voltage. And the climate vents are in the doors. There's such a good sense of personality in this car, which you don't really get as much in the Supra. For example, you can get a blue interior in addition to the typical black and red. The seats are comfy, heated, and powered for a few ways. And there's even twice as many cup holders as there was before. And you get a good modern tech stack with things like Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, Wi-Fi enablement, and a pretty solid driver assist system. You've got intelligent cruise control, lane departure warning, but no active lane keep. And of course you get a bunch of chargers. And it's nice and spacious in the front. There are some shelf type things behind the front seats, and the hatch, yeah, it's kind of shallow, but it has a huge opening. Sure, it's a little cheap in here, but since the 350 generation, the point has been to bring an affordable, fun sports car, and they've done that. Honestly, from the power, performance, and features you're getting, and you're getting all these things at $40,000 as base or $50,000 here, it's a pretty solid deal. And I think with that, we get into the final thoughts. So the new Z. We talked a lot about the Supra, and we've been all over both of these cars this year, so the comparison is fresh. At the end of the day, there are things the Supra does better than the Z, and there are things the Z does better than the Supra. And you might even find yourself cross-shopping a new Mustang or an M240i. But at the end of the day, if you want a big power, 6-cylinder, true JDM car, Nissan is kind of the only name in the game, and they have 2. So thanks again, Nissan, for giving the people what they want. We'll see you in the next one.